Parliamentary form of democracy. Parliamentary form of democracy. Okay. Did you write these points? Write down legislature. Okay. Which is nothing but lawmaking chamber, lawmaking organ of the state. What is the purpose of the legislature? It represents the people. It represents the people. Okay. Right. Next line lo rayandi. In India, we follow parliamentary form of democracy. We follow parliamentary form of democracy. Parliamentary form of democracy. Which is an indirect form of democracy. Which is an indirect form of democracy. Indirect form of democracy. So now, just for the sake of understanding, tell me, what is direct democracy? What is indirect democracy? What is direct democracy and what is indirect democracy? Any idea? Democracy is of two types, direct democracy and indirect democracy. So how do you differentiate these two? Did you understand my question? Okay, can anybody answer? Just a guesswork for the sake of interaction. Okay. So, yes, no problem. You need to unlearn yourself and learn new things. Okay. When I ask you anything, if you go wrong, you just correct it. That's it. Okay. Right. So, direct democracy means where government is elected by the people directly. Government is elected by the people directly. Okay. Without any intermediation. Without any intermediation. That is called as direct democracy. Indirect means if the people elect the government, indirectly with the intermediation is called as indirect democracy. Intermediation is called as indirect democracy. Okay, suppose if I ask you, anybody is from rural area, any village, do you hail from village? You can relate this question there. Okay, how the Sarpanch of village is elected, directly or indirectly? Directly. So government at the village level is direct government or indirect government? Direct government. Got my point? But in India as a whole, apart from this village level government, at the union and state level, the form of government you would see is indirect government. What is that? Indirect government. Okay. How do we say it is indirect government? Yes. How do we say it is indirect government? It is indirect government because I told you at the union level, what are the two houses I told you? Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Right? Just look at this term. Lok means, what is that? People. Sabha means house. So in other words, this is the house which is directly elected by people. Directly elected by people. Lok Sabha is the house which is directly elected by the people. How the people directly elect the Lok Sabha? Directly elect the members of the Lok Sabha? Because we have this very, very big country, and the country is divided into various number of, what is that? Constituencies. Got my point? The country is divided into various number of constituencies. On the basis of territory or population? Population. On the basis of population. Population is the basis for the creation of the constituencies. Constituencies means it is a defined unit of territory which is representing the population. That is nothing but constituency. Okay, right. From every constituency, one representative is elected. How many representatives is elected? One representative is elected. That's why in Lok Sabha there are 545 seats. How many seats? 545. Okay, but currently there are only 543 seats because 2 seats were nominated seats. You just exclude. I will tell you what is the nomination. So presently we have 543 seats. It means how many constituencies are there in the country? 545 constituencies. So entire population of the country is divided into 543 constituencies on the basis of the territorial basis. On territorial basis, you are creating the constituencies. From every constituency, one representative will be elected. So those are members of Lok Sabha. Those are members of Lok Sabha. Okay. And the members are usually elected on individual lines or party lines? Party lines. On the basis of the party lines. Because our India is multi-party democracy. What is that? Multi-party democracy. There are multiple parties that can be formed and they can be contesting in the elections. But which party will be forming the government? Such party which gets the majority seats in the Lok Sabha. How many seats they need to get? Majority seats. What is majority here? 50% plus 1. Whichever party gets 50% plus 1 seats in Lok Sabha, that party will be forming the government. That party will be forming the government. Got my point? It means out of 543 seats, minimum a party has to get more than 373 seats. Only such party will be forming the government. Such party will be forming the government. Right. So it means people are electing the Lok Sabha based on the majority in the Lok Sabha. What is being created? Elected? Government is elected. So whether the government is directly elected by the people or indirectly? Indirectly elected. The government is indirectly elected because if the government needs to be formed, the people have to elect the Lok Sabha members and the majority party in the Lok Sabha will be forming the government. Hence this form of democracy is called as indirect democracy. This is called as indirect democracy. Are you able to understand? Right. And at the state level, we have state legislative assembly. What is that? State legislative assembly. Whichever party secures the majority seats in the state legislative assembly, such party will be forming the government. So hence the elections at the state level is also indirect elections or indirect democracy. Indirect democracy. Okay. For the state level government, only constituencies in the states. There are separate constituencies in the state. Separate constituencies in the state. For the union legislature, there are separate constituencies. For the state legislature, there are separate constituencies. For example, Telangana state has 17 constituencies in Lok Sabha. 17 constituencies for Lok Sabha. Whereas for state legislative assembly, 119 constituencies for state legislative assembly. So that's why the constituencies for the state legislative assembly is different. Constituencies for the union parliament is different. Okay. Which constituency will be having more population? Lok Sabha constituency or state legislative constituency? Lok Sabha constituency. Lok Sabha constituency. Are you able to understand? Averagely, on an average, every Lok Sabha constituency will be having more than 10 lakh population. More than 10 lakh population. Every constituency for the state legislative will be having approximately more than 1 lakh population. More than 1 lakh population. Okay. Are you able to understand? In this way, the constituencies for the state legislative assembly is different and the union parliament, that is Lok Sabha, is different. Got my point? And the government is elected from where? Lok Sabha is in the union level and state legislative assembly at the which level? State level. Got my point?